welcome to Slayerfest 98. My name is Zachary Patton-Garcia.
I'm Ian Carlos Crawford.
Hi, I'm Summer Bishil, and this is Nick, the perpetually exhausted spooky character of the YouTube channel Nick Says Boo.
Hi. I feel so bad for giving you that complicated.
I know. What an asshole. It's first episode, too.
Summer's going to kick you off the podcast.
No.
Nick, so this is your first time joining us. Would you like to give us your Buffy origin story?
Sure. So I remember this clear as day. It was, oh God, how old was I? Because I was born in 91. So I'm trying to think about how old I would have been in 97. So 5 or 6 years old. I remember my dad coming home from work and he was in the kitchen with my mom and he was like, hey, do you remember that movie Buffy the Vampire Slayer? And she was like, yeah, what about it? And he's like, well, apparently they're making it into a TV show. I heard vampire and, my love of all things spooky. I was like, I want to watch it. And I watched the very first episode of that, and every single week I was in front of that television.
Oh, you watched it from the beginning?
Yep, both Buffy and Angel. That's from day one.
Summer, didn't you also watch it from the beginning? I know one of the co-hosts.
I was very young. I watched it when I was in Bahrain, and it was on air. I have an older sister, so she was always watching it. I wasn't really into it when she was watching it because I was too young. But
fair.
I remember getting into it when it was on air in Bahrain and then continuing to watch it. But my love for it didn't really happen until my late 20s.
Yeah. I always find it funny. Nick, I love that you watched it from the beginning, even though you would have been 6, 7.
Oh, it doesn't make any sense. Literally, my first movie that I ever saw in theaters was Scream. On opening weekend, too. So it's been like that since day one.
And Nick, so I have to mention that we actually all met in person for my birthday.
Yeah, so Zach, do you remember that?
Okay, why are you remembering? So I've talked to Ian about this. I think we talked about it at our last recording, and I said, I was talking to Alistair about it, and we were talking about how we met Nick and David and how they showed up at the bar, and we were at the bar, and we said hi, and I was like, it was like they weren't there for more than 5 minutes, though. And he's like, what? And I said, yeah, they came and said hi, and, we had a shot, and they left. And he's like, no, we went upstairs and everything. I said, oh. So I blacked most of that out, I'm pretty sure. But then I saw the pictures, and that does make sense. Y'all are in the pictures.
Well, at least we have proof that it actually happened.
I was 2 Long Island iced teas in by the time y'all showed up, so it was starting out rough.
Yeah, Summer, you missed my very drunk 40th birthday in New York.
Oh my God! Happy late birthday!
Thanks.
I brought a Sony Handycam to it. And it was an old 2005 one. Yeah, and Nick, do you remember when we were all trying to go upstairs and the hallway got the stairway got blocked and they were telling us to go back down, but there was too many people, so we were going back up. So Alistair was filming at the top of the stairs, yelling at everybody to go back down. And I'm yelling at everybody to go back up, and then you have Nick coming in the back yelling, what are we doing? What's happening here?
Sounds like me. Yes.
It's a good moment.
But so we are here to talk the Buffy season 2 episode Passion for its 25th anniversary. We're just a few days late. That's okay. And I fucking this episode. I can remember I had this on VHS in the little collections they put out, and I would watch this all the time. I thought this was such a good, especially to younger teen me, this felt like good horror movie stuff. And it definitely still has a little bit of that in there. But off the top, your first rewatch, watching it for this, Summer, what'd you think of the episode overall?
I think it's a pretty sad episode. I mean, I remember really loving Miss Calendar and just being really sad for her, but also Giles and what that meant for his development.
Yeah.
But it's funny that she almost looks their age.
Yeah.
I'm just okay.
That's how that works.
She could be in high school.
Right, by the way they all look. Yeah, I think I've said that before, right, Zach, with Scream 1, how Gale and Sydney they looked like they could be around the same age.
Yeah, well, I mean, and also love interests, right, for older men are usually younger women.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, not he's probably my age in this season. I'm probably as old as Giles is.
You think he's 40?
Probably.
That's a rough 40.
I don't know. Summer, what do you think, Nick?
I'm looking that up. Hold on.
Yes, please look that up because that's blowing my mind if that's true.
I'm so bad with age. I have no concept.
I know that I did Google Joyce, and I was like, motherfucker, I'm as old as Joyce was in season 1 of Buffy. Like, she's supposed to be like a 40-year-old single mom. Yeah.
She looks young, though. Like, it's just the haircut that does it, I think. The haircut and the outfit.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like Giles starts to look younger as he gets, like, to me, he looks younger in season 3 than he does in like the first 2 seasons.
Yeah, they style him a little better. Especially these early seasons, like those suits are like baggy, and it's like, oh, God.
Yeah, the 90s was all about the baggy suit.
Yeah. I can't stand an ill-fitting suit.
Ugh, I don't know. They were so in.
They really were.
He was 44.
Okay, so he was older than me. Summer, I feel like you talk about this a lot, how like you're like, I'm ready for this fashion to come back. I do love the women's fashion from that era, but it's like the men's fashion. I'm like, I can't go back to baggy jeans. I just cannot.
No.
Like I won't do it.
The young adult women's stuff, like it's cute seeing all the young girls like wearing everything that we grew up with.
Yeah.
But like the men's stuff can just go.
Yeah, we don't need that to come back.
Yeah.
So this episode, even like the previously on, there's like so much shit to cover in that. Like when they're like, they gotta show that she slept with Angel, they gotta show he went bad, they gotta show like her with the rocket launcher. And this season really like at this point, I feel like is when it's like very much moving. And like the earlier half of season 2 is a little bit slower for me, a little bit still monster of the week. But I think once they get Angelus, it's like it picks up immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So I like love all this. I love that we start with like him stalking her. And I do like, you know, in the later scene when they get the call, I like that we're seeing the stalking from Angel's point of view, like from the outside. I think that's like very, like I was like waiting for him to be like Michael Myers on her front lawn when she looked out.
The whole framing of this episode is really good.
Yeah.
How we get his narration throughout and then we get hers right at the end.
Yeah. I did
something
like
I forgot about.
Yeah, in my brain, he narrated the whole time until when I was watching. I was like, oh, right, she narrates. So yeah, we start off with him stalking her. She goes to bed. And it is funny seeing stuff like this is creepy when he's in her bed, right? But I just kept thinking later season Buffy would have like, somehow she would have woken up and like known that there was someone
this is season 2 Buffy. Okay,
yeah.
She's Helen Shivers here. This is Helen Shivers.
She literally walks right past him murdering somebody in the alley, like it right in the light, and just completely misses him. So
no, she didn't miss him. She knew it, but it was her night off, and she deserved a night off. Okay? That was not her business.
She's like, I pretend I do not see. Fair, but yeah, no, I like that though. I like, it's not like I'm like, oh, it's inconsistent. I like that it's like Buffy gets better at it as the show goes on. The same way like Giles becomes like less stuffier. Like I feel like that's just like character development. Because I've had a few people like doing their first watches of it and be like, oh, I don't like Giles. I'm like, no, you love Giles. I promise. He's just a little uptight early on, but like you love him. Like he's a nice dad.
Yeah, I feel like this episode, and then I think it's the end of Innocence, where he's talking to Buffy about her having sex in the car.
Yeah.
I feel like those were the two big, at least for me, big turning points for his character that made him less of the, you know, stuffy tweed wearing librarian and more of that father figure. I think that's sort of when I started to connect with him as a character.
Yeah, I do like, I think that like those are, it's almost like those are his defining moments, and then he kind of doesn't really get many more later on. But I mean, I love him. Yeah, I feel like that's the moment when it's like, oh, he is a good dad. But so we get him stalking her. He's laying with her. He draws. Is it? Yeah. This I didn't put it in my notes, but he does draw a picture of her, right? And he like leaves it on her bed.
That was Dawn. We're asking where Dawn is. Yeah, that was Dawn.
That was Dawn, right?
Yeah, Angel draws a picture of her. And I was thinking, because I forgot that he draws Joyce later, too. And I was like, well, did he draw Joyce also? And he did. This creepy-ass motherfucker. This whole thing is just wild to me, right? Like how on the nose it is with dangerous men obsessively stalking women. You know, it's such a real-world problem that they did so well in this episode, you know, right down to her having to tell her mom, even though she's really wanting to keep that secret from her. I'm getting ahead of myself, but it's just, it like blows me away every time I watch it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty toxic and it happens a lot. And I feel like that, you know, that little speech she gives to Joyce in front of her house, I mean, a lot of young people talk like that, and it's really dangerous. I just, I have a hard time with Joyce not really seeing what's actually happening with her daughter. Like, I love Joyce, and I think she's in a lot of ways a wonderful mother, and you really feel her loss when she's gone. But, she doesn't really want to see her daughter, and it's kind of toxic too.
Yeah. When her mom gives her that talk, I was like, wow, I hate everything her mother is saying in this scene. Like,
I hate it. And it's not like, were you safe? Were you, was it safe? Like, nothing about, the very real risks associated with it, but more so her virtue. And I think it's just antiquated and problematic. And there were probably mothers even in those days, who were having more appropriate conversations with their daughters.
Yeah, I think it's funny because I was thinking about how my mom's the one that got me into Buffy, and she doesn't like Joyce. And it's like stuff like this that always like bothered my mom. And she would be like, she doesn't support her. Like, she should be like, supporting her more. And she doesn't. And like, she doesn't even see that she's a Slayer. And I can kind of like get it. But I mean, I still agree with you, Summer. I do like Joyce. It's just some of this shit is like, not great. Especially because it's like Buffy tells her like, oh, he's stalking me. So at least she knows that there is like, she doesn't know the full picture, but Buffy has at least told her that like she's going through something bad with this guy. So at the very least, don't like then be like yelling at her for, if you know she's upset, like you at least know that.
I mean, she's kind of shaming her and also not offering resources for both of their protection.
Yes.
Which is really dangerous. And I also I'm like, how old are we supposed to believe Buffy is at this point?
Right.
Well, I mean, just like, is she like 15 and Angel's supposed to be like 20? Like what is that? Because that's not appropriate.
Because like Joyce does, that's like the one thing she does point out that is correct is like, oh, he's a lot older. But I don't know how old Joyce is supposed to think he is, right? Like, is he just like a year older? Or is he like 25 to her? Because it is very hard because Angel does look their age because the actor actually is their age. So it's like hard to be like, oh, that like much older man, but it's like, is he?
With like a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
It's just so predatory and illegal.
Yeah.
When was he turned though? Because he's supposed to be like early 20s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I'm like,
yeah, because like when we get those flashbacks, it's like he's like not a teenager. It's like he's like at the bar, like hooking up with ladies and like so yeah.
It's kind of funny because it's like whenever I talk to people about this show, like I have David watching this for the first time, and
I love that.
He's like, well, wait a minute, like how old is Angel supposed to be? And I was like, well, regardless of when he was turned, I'm like, mentally, he's 250 plus years old, so it's still like he's an old man. It's still disgusting. And I'm like, but that's sort of one of the things that the show only lightly touches on. Like they have the joke in season 3 when I think it's season 3, when he tells her like, oh, I saw you outside of your old high school, and she's like, that's incredibly gross.
Yeah, and she even makes the joke with Willow in season 3 when Willow's talking about, or maybe it's this season. It is this season when Willow's talking that she's nervous to talk to Oz. And Buffy says something like, my boyfriend had a bicentennial. And it's like, that's barely a joke. But yeah. So then we get post-credits, we get Buffy. She's in school. She's like worried about Angel because he's come to visit her. And they're talking about like looking up the like uninviting him spell. And I do like the bit of like Jonathan and that other girl like come in and they're like, have you knocked? And they're like, this is a library, we're looking for books, because that never happens on the show. So I like that we at least got like one time that happens.
I love those real world moments when they're like, these are supposed to be actual people. They just sort of lightly acknowledge it.
And you could wonder like how many times did it take students going into that library before they all kind of spread the word that you don't go in there anymore?
They're like, just like avoid the library. They're
like, it's fucking weird in there, man. There's like, some devil stuff there. I don't know what's happening over there.
And when Xander's like, does this look like a Barnes and Noble to you? Love that. So then we get, I do like that they leave, but then they're talking about it in the hallway, which is more public.
Again, you just turn your head. You don't pay attention. Okay, that's not the crowd you want to get involved in. People die.
Don't hang out with them because you will definitely die.
Speaking of their conversation about the whole invitation thing, is this the only time that the invitation to a car is a thing?
Yeah, I was wondering that. Like, are they placating Cordy and just being like, all right, we'll do it? Or, like, did they actually need to do it,
It felt more like placating to me, right? Like,
I think so.
It felt like when they actually do the spell on her car, that it's just kind of like hand-waving and maybe, like, burning some sage for a second and saying it's done. I feel like Cordy and her car should have been a whole, like, little mini Lost episode that we should have gotten or something. Yes. I was very invested.
Or just offering up her grandma.
I want to see Joyce and Buffy riding around in Cordelia's car. Like, I needed to see just 5 minutes of that.
Summer, what do you think? Do you think they were placating Cordy, or did they actually do a spell?
I think it's probably a bit of both. They were probably like, what are the rules on the car?
True.
They probably don't know. They're probably like, I don't know.
Do it in case.
Let's
see.
Do something in case. Exactly.
I feel like it's the same thing with garlic in the show.
Yeah.
Because they have that in Cordelia's car at the end of it. She has it hanging in the back seat of the car. And I feel like the next time that you see garlic is when, I think it's like season 6 when Buffy's trying to keep Spike out.
Yeah.
But I'm like, do they ever actually utilize garlic in the show?
Right.
That's true. They really don't. Also, I wanted, Summer, I don't know if you will be able to answer this question. So is the, like, Buffy's makeup, I do like it in this scene, but, like, her lips look the same color as her, like, face. Was that like a thing back then, or is it like just weirdly done makeup?
I feel like the nude lip was like kind of everywhere.
Okay.
Like the nude lip. I feel like it's everywhere now too.
Well, I don't go out that often, so probably sure I can buy that I would miss it.
I love it. I mean, she's such a beautiful girl. It's like there's not a frame of this entire series where they don't all look beautiful, you know. And I think they were probably all really young and playing with their looks themselves, probably too. Like I'm sure they were trying stuff out and having some creative input.
Yeah, the thing the season 7 costume designer told me was that, like, it was very easy dressing Sarah because she, like, looked good in everything, which I don't doubt.
They probably all just looked amazing in everything.
Yeah.
And they were all, like, really young, and that's when you kind of, like, try different things.
That's true, yeah. And, like, I do feel like back then there was, like, 10 different very specific fashion trends.
Yeah.
Because, like, when Willow wears those hats, I'm like, people didn't wear these hats. And then I'm like, no, they did. They did.
The bucket hat was a thing. That's back, too.
God, I hate the bucket hat.
The bucket hat, God.
I feel personally attacked. I love bucket hats.
I mean, check all my school field trip pictures. I've got a bucket hat on, most likely, and a windbreaker.
So many pictures and bucket hats.
So we get Miss Calendar, and I do like that Miss Calendar has like a little bit of a relationship with Willow. Like Willow's like the good student.
Willow turned into Miss Calendar. I could not stop looking at Calendar and seeing what Willow turns into.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, someone on Twitter, and I apologize if the person's listening, so I don't remember who it was, but someone said, like, in a roundabout way, Miss Calendar was, like, Willow's first, like, mentor, which is kind of true.
Yes.
Right?
And would have been a stronger mentor had she lived. I fully believe that.
Yeah. Yeah. And, like, because, like, Miss Calendar's kind of, I'm trying to think, would be the first person that Willow knew who did magic, right?
Yeah.
Like, that she actually knew.
And what did Giles call Willow later? It's arrogant amateur.
A rank arrogant amateur.
Jenny would have never said that to Willow. Jenny would have. I feel like Jenny would have been a lot better of a mentor. But she, I don't know. So like, I remember when I first watched it, not liking her, and I think it was just because I'd started in season 5. I already had my favorites, and then you go back and it's like, who the hell is this lady? I don't like her. But she is somebody who every single time I do a rewatch, I like her more and more and more. And I'm so disappointed that we lose her. You know, I feel like she would have been a really great one to carry over a couple more seasons.
Yeah. It's kind of weird that she left the show so quickly.
Yeah. And like, she now does like anti-abortion movies.
Oh, does she?
Actor,
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Right.
Well, I'm talking about Jenny Calendar, okay?
No,
I
yeah,
love
no.
Jenny Calendar.
I happened to look at her Twitter earlier today because I was like, oh, let me see. Like, I heard that she's not like that. And then, like, her first tweet was about Tucker Carlson and loving him. And, like, it was like, oh, he talked about my movie. And I was like, oh, man.
I think, season 3 was fine without Jenny Calendar, actually.
But yeah, no, I like when Willow's walking out that she says to Buffy, like, I have to talk to her. She's a teacher. Like, I love little nerdy Willow. And I forget that she's still like, like a cute, shy, awkward nerd here. Cause like, when she goes over Buffy's house after finding her fish dead and she's like, thanks for having me over on a school night, as if it's not like a life or death matter that she's over there.
Yeah.
But so, and I do think Miss Calendar and Giles have like very good chemistry. And I do wish we could have gotten like a love interest for Giles in the vein of her that didn't die. Because we get like Olivia in 2 episodes in season 4, or 3, and that's it.
Yeah, it's just like in and out, right? Like even Olivia would have been nice to stick around for a little while.
Yeah. I feel like he deserved, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted him to be with Joyce. Like, I know it was kind of telegraphed from the beginning, and then she dies, but I thought that would have been really, really cute.
Me too.
It made a lot of sense, too. It would have made a lot of sense.
And, like, he was already a good dad to Buffy, so it's like, he would just be the same as a stepdad to her, right? Like, he was like, so... Which I do like later on when he says to Willow, and he's like, should I go up there? And she's like, and what would you say? And he's like,
I love that scene so
much. So we get this, and we do get Giles and Jenny. And I do like this interaction, and I like that we see that Giles, he both is like excited to talk to her, but also, when she's like, is this where she apologizes? And he's like, I'm not the one you have to apologize to.
Yeah.
And I do like that. And I like that she's the one that gives him the like uninviting spell. And like, I don't know. I feel bad for her. Cause right. It's like, she is trying.
Like that it doesn't seem like she is like being overly apologetic. Instead, she knows there's something she can do and she springs into action pretty much right away. Right.
Yeah.
Like that is the way that she can apologize. And she recognizes that. And she's just, she works,
Yeah.
But his acting, Anthony Stewart-Head's acting, when she says, I didn't know that I was going to fall in love with you, it breaks my heart every single time, because that's like, for me, that's one of the few moments initially early on in the series where you kind of see through the front that Giles puts up. And like his face is just like very childlike. He's like, what did you like? Really?
I love when he does that. I love when Anthony Stewart-Head does that anytime like he gets a little flustered.
Yeah.
And I do think, I mean, he conveys, he's like a very kind dad face, right? He is like, and he just is very like, you want to root for him and stuff like this, I feel like. And like, I like that Jenny was kind of like, she like lit a fire under his ass and like got a kick out of how stuffy he was, and he also clearly liked that. So I don't know. That's the kind of relationships I do like. So then we cut to Buffy, and it's like the later that night, she's on the phone with Willow. That's when Willow finds out Angel came into her room and killed her fish.
Well, so just backing up just this tiny bit, because it plays into this part right here, is earlier when they're walking through the hallway, it like really irritates me that Buffy is like, I need to do something. Like this is like, he told me that he killed Drusilla's family when he got obsessed with her. And like, he had this track record already. And Giles pretty much tells her, hey, you just ignore him and he'll go away until we can figure out something, right? Like, and then it just is everybody's getting targeted. He doesn't go away. It starts to progressively get worse. It does get worse. Jenny gets killed, and that moment like has really stuck with me this watch, when they tell her to just kind of grin and bear it.
I mean, right? That's like kind of the show, right? Everyone being like, oh, like underestimating Buffy and being like, and like they do that with Cordelia a lot. We talked about that with like Cordelia in Angel season 1, right? Where it's like, oh, you're being ridiculous, and then she's right. Because
and Willow's right, like it's a good thing she didn't have a damn dog, because that's terrible.
Yeah. And like I did keep thinking, like, why didn't they think of this? This should have been something they thought of like right away, like. Because while they're talking, he could be at Buffy's house murdering Joyce, right? Like, it just feels like, let's make this move faster because he could be murdering everyone's families while they're at school or out patrolling.
Yeah, I mean, even Buffy calls, since she called that out, it always sort of felt odd to me that, like, Joyce is out getting groceries and she's just chilling at home with Willow.
Yeah.
Like, you would have thought that, like, she would have been on top of it the second that the sun went down. Like, I need to know your every single move to keep you alive.
I mean, it's not like Joyce would have called the police, because did she do that afterwards? No.
Yeah.
So we get Drusilla, and we cut back to the factory. Drusilla tries to feed him the dog. I wouldn't have minded if Drew had that dog for, like, as her sidekick for the rest of the series. I kind of liked her with this tiny dog.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, Spike is mad that she's trying to feed him. And then Angelus has a weird line where he says she already bathes you and changes you. And I was like, wait, does she? Like,
yeah, I wondered that too. Because I'm like, at what point was he, like, no longer faking? So I'm like, is she like giving him, like, a geriatric sponge bath to like clean him and, like, change the diaper? Like, what is the extent of the acting that he's putting on here?
Because at the end he does say it's been a while that he's pretending, right? It's like, it isn't just like, oh, just then he got better, right?
Right.
Because I remember that, but yeah, Drusilla, and then in this she has, like, a premonition, and it's like, I forget her wording, but it's basically talking about Jenny. And then we cut to Jenny, and just seeing her in that dress, I was like, oh no. Summer, I need to know what you think about that dress, because it's very weird.
Jenny's dress?
Yeah.
Why is it weird?
It looks like it's like, because it looks like it's a shirt, and then it's like sheer, but there's a tank top underneath. It looks like it has, like, 4 layers.
Oh my God, I loved it.
I know, Ian, what are you talking about?
Never mind, I take it back.
Are you even a Buffy stan?
It's so good.
It looks like it has, like, 18 layers. And I also love that they give her, like, you know, she wears, like, jeans sometimes and stuff, but they give her, like, the worst outfit to be chased in, which is, like, this dress.
That's iconic. It's an iconic outfit to get chased in. She was running pretty damn fast in that dress.
She was. That is true.
Mm-hmm.
But I like, that dress is probably hard to run in, right, Summer?
I mean, I ran in some pretty crazy shit, you know. It's like,
fair.
You do what you gotta do.
Crazy shit, and while wearing an eye patch. So
yeah, like, sometimes you gotta run in a dress.
So she goes to the magic box, and I do like that the magic box, like, gets these, like, little early appearances when they need, like, to get something, like, supernatural.
Is this supposed to be the magic box?
Yeah, because she walks downstairs, doesn't she?
Yeah. But I think they, like, that set looks different every time they use it, because they go to it in season 3, and it's, like, a completely different set too. So I think it's like they didn't really, like, know what they were gonna, because they do say that it's like the magic shop. And
it's honestly only us who are questioning the layout of it, you know?
Yeah. And I do like that the guy's, like, doing a bit, and then once he realizes she, like, knows her shit, he, like, drops the act and is like, oh, okay, oh, you're Yana, oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I think of that, like, when I think of Miss Calendar, when she's like, I'm gonna give a friend something, and he's like, what are you gonna give him? And she's like, his soul, and it, like, lights up a little. That's what I think of when I think of Miss Calendar, is like that image. I didn't realize that this is before school. So I was like, how early is that shop opening? Because it's before they're even, like, getting to school. So, like, that would be like, what, 7 a.m., 6 a.m.?
I mean, people wake up really early to buy their Ouija boards. Yeah.
Fair. And Nick, what'd you think of her interaction with Miss Calendar here outside school?
It's very Buffy to me. It's very, like, she wants to do the right thing, but she's still a little bit pissed off. Mm-hmm. And I think I don't know. It shows a lot for her character. Mm-hmm. And it shows the love that she has for Giles, that she's willing to put, you know, other people's happiness before her own.
Yeah.
It's a really good character moment for her, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I think that, like, what you just said, Nick, is exactly what I love about it, is that she is, like, reeling it in. Like, she is fucking pissed at her, but you, like, when she's like, good, you feel bad. And then she's like, wait, Giles misses you. Like, that shit makes me, like, I was like, oh man, she's gonna die tonight. This sucks. Like, that's all I was thinking.
I know.
And I feel like also, because we're still early in the show, Buffy and Giles' relationship is still, like, evolving. Mm-hmm. And this like shows you how much she loves him, right? Like I feel like Zach, what did you think of it?
Well, I mean, yeah, everything that was already said. You know, this is just what I love about Buffy, right? Is that she's expected to be more mature than people remember how old she is, right?
Yeah.
We had the whole moment when we covered, oh goodness, what was the episode for Angel?
Sanctuary.
Yes. And everybody mad at her for, but I'm like, she's fucking however years old. And she's even younger here.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is quite a bit of maturity for somebody who's that age, you know?
Yeah. I mean, right. That's what we love about Buffy. And you always say that, Zach. And I think about that a lot when people like rag on some of her decisions. It's like, she is still a kid.
Yeah.
Like,
the realist in me can't help but think of their ages.
That's why I always compare it to like with Dawn, how everyone would always say that Dawn was really annoying. And I'm like, well, Dawn behaved like the actual age that she was. And if you look back at, you know, the core trio in the first couple of seasons, they did not behave like teenagers. They were dealing with very adult situations, unlike Dawn.
Right. Yeah. And like, I mean, Nick, I have defended Dawn in that way because like she is annoying, but I'm always like, I would also be that annoying, if not more so, if I were like 14, found out I wasn't real, and then my mom and sister both died.
Just leave it there. No, like, just leave it there. You just find out you're not real, okay? By that point, you're just setting trash cans on fire.
I would be bratty about that at
40. Ian finds out he's not real at 40. He's only been living about 4 months.
I'm like, Zach, we've only been doing My Bloody Judy for 3 months, actually.
There you go.
But so, yeah, no, I really like this. And I do like that she's still a little petty, but then is like, let me stop myself. Like, I do like that because also I relate to that because I would also still be petty, even though I'm like, oh, but like, yeah, he cares about you, like, blah, blah, blah. And then like right after this is when Giles tells him he has the like spell, right? Which is what Jenny Calendar gave him. And then we like quickly have that cut to them in Willow's room, which I do like. And she says that like Ira Rosenberg's only daughter nailing crucifix to her wall. I have to go over Xander's just to watch Charlie Brown Christmas special. I thought that was like a really good beat. And we get I like that Cordelia line where she's like, you know, I'd do the same for you if you had a social life.
Just more Cordelia.
I love Allison's little response when she's like, you realize that there are no fish in your aquarium? And it's just so subtle, but it's, I don't know, it sends me every single time.
Why did he leave it in her? So then they get the drawing of Joyce. Why was it there?
Right. I was thinking that too.
How often was he sneaking in and out without nobody noticing?
It was while they were facing the fish tank. And he was in the back.
And then the drawing is of her mom, which it is like, oh shit, like fuck. And then we cut to Joyce. And this scene I thought had really good tension where like, because right, like even I feel like your brain, I mean, we've all watched this a bunch, so we know what happens. But like when you see something like this, your brain goes to like, well, he's a vampire, he's gonna attack her. And he does attack her, but not in a vampire way, right? In like like you said, Summer, just like a straight up like toxic, creepy dude way.
Yeah.
By like, I get so mad for her when he's like, I can't stop thinking about your daughter since we made love. Like that feels like a cruel thing you didn't expect him to do, right? Like you expect him just to try to like kill her, which is also terrible, of course. But like this feels like a different kind of terrible.
I think this is like probably the third strongest scene in the episode. The sort of back and forth between Joyce and Angel, and Joyce trying to almost like get out of his grasp and like get around him, but he's like blocking her most of the walk. Is just so, it's a lot of anxiety in that one, right? Like I wish I remember what I felt when I first watched that, because it is such a strong scene, such a creepy scene. And like if it had taken place nowadays, you know, it would be Angel posting on social media or like, you know, just sending, I don't know, pictures of Buffy to everybody and just like really on the nose creepy shit.
This episode is like, I'm a really big fan of like the erotic thrillers, like, you know, like Fear and Basic Instinct and stuff like that. And this episode to me is very much that, and I get uncomfortable every single time. The way that he's very aggressive with her, like when she drops the groceries and he's like very, very quickly putting everything in the bag, or when she pulls in the driveway and he's like opening the car door for her. I just watched Fear with Mark Wahlberg
it's
and
Mark
Reese Witherspoon
Wahlberg, like 100%.
Very much so. Like it's just very uncomfortable with how animated he is and how close he is with her. But I really love, like, to what you were saying when he makes the comment about him having slept with Buffy. As Joyce, because I rewatched the episode again earlier, as like Joyce is trying to open the door, you can just see the look on his face as he's like, how else can I fuck with her right now?
Yes. It's very much like he's playing with his prey. Like, I don't think he went there to kill Joyce. I think he went there to embarrass Buffy.
Dude, that was going to be my question. Do you think he was going to, if he had gotten into the house behind her, do you think he would have hurt her?
Probably.
I think if he had gotten into the house, but I think right then, in that moment, he just, his motive was to embarrass Buffy. Yeah. What do you think, Nick?
I mean, I don't know. Because, like, when the barrier stops him, he's still got the grin on his face. So I do think he probably would have gotten, like, carried away a little bit.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, like, he's clearly showing restraint when he's just sitting there watching them sleep at night. So I don't know. I know that eventually we're going to answer the question of, like, what would Dawn have been doing at this time? But I feel like if he had gotten inside, he probably would have went upstairs and started screwing with her.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been like the ickiest scene to see. I'm glad we didn't ever have to get that.
Yeah, Summer, what do you think? Do you think he was like going there just to fuck with her, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a sociopath when he becomes Angelus.
Yeah.
Like, he's a total sociopath. It's just it's so creepy. This is why it was so easy for me to, like, accept the transition of Spike becoming a love interest. Like, when people were like, Angel forever. Like, to me, I was like, when he's Angelus, it's like, fuck this guy. Like, it so overshadows, to me, the brief good time. Like, it's just so fraught with so much trauma.
Yeah. And, like, Zach, I feel like we've talked about this on the podcast too, that, like, they don't actually, like, Summer, right? They don't actually date that long before this happens.
No.
Like, they're not even, they, like, kiss halfway through season 1, and now we're, like, halfway through season 2, and he's murdering her friends.
Yeah. No, I know. He murdered people, man. And it was just like, I don't know. And they were so quick to forgive so much of what he did.
Yeah.
But, like, Willow fucking gets addicted to magic, and they're like, yo.
Burn the podcast down. Yes, absolutely. 100%.
You know, and it's like he gets a spin-off. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's why in Seeing Red, when they're like, she can't, and Dawn is like, no, she can, she should. And I'm like, yes, Dawn is very correct in this scene. Like, Willow has every right to fucking hate Warren.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just like the, like, stalker, like, it does feel like we're still leaning into horror stuff. And I mean, Nick, I think Fear is a very good comparison because he is just like, the, like, almost the vampireness doesn't have anything to do with what he's doing, right? He's just being like a, like, crazy stalker dude.
Oh, exactly. Like, I know, like, we always talk about, how it's supposed to be like metaphors for growing up and the situations that you're going through. But I feel like this episode specifically is one where, other than a couple moments, it doesn't even really feel supernatural. It just feels like you're watching, like, a crime drama, like a stalker drama.
Yeah.
And I love that about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. So then they're doing that. And then once he gets in the house, which is one of my favorite beats of the episode.
Sorry, Angel, changed the locks.
Yes. And then slams the door. So fucking good.
It's a good moment. It's a good one.
And then Cordelia locks your car door. Beep, beep.
Yeah.
I love that moment. Like, I think it's a very good, because, right, like we were saying, it's like he's kind of just stalking. He's not doing vampire things, but then we're reminded, oh, this is a thing she can do because it is supernatural, and, like, she can prevent him from coming into her home. You know, that's the same spell she uses on Spike later on in the show. And, like, I like her being able to, like, finally get one up on him, because it feels like since he turned evil, it's like him getting one up on her. And so it feels good to be like, yeah, fuck you, Angel.
I love that it was like a surprise one up too. Like, I'm sure people like, because you would expect to see them performing the spell or doing whatever, right?
Yeah.
And that comes so quickly that you just don't have time to even think that is what's coming up next. I mean, unless you've seen the show, but
right. And I this is one of the first times we see Willow doing like a full spell, right?
Yeah,
because she's like walking down the steps, like saying the whatever.
Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, I think other than at the end of season 2, which I mean, we don't even really know what took over her at that point. But yeah, I think this is the first time where she's not, like lighting bedspreads on fire and all that jazz, turning her friends into rats.
So we cut back to Sunnydale High, which now is reminding me, wait a minute. The show does this a lot, especially in the early seasons, because it's nighttime again. Wait. Oh, but okay.
That's
it's
what
like,
happens after daytime meeting.
But like, I mean, how long have Jenny and Giles been at school?
Teachers stay after school a long time.
But it feels like in my brain, I guess it's like, could be like 7
And doesn't it get earlier or darker earlier there at this time, like in February?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Okay, you're right. Giles goes in to talk to Jenny. She says they like kind of make up a little bit. And she says she wants to see him later. And he says yes, setting us up for more heartbreak. And Nick, who arrives in Jenny's classroom.
The devil himself. Like when I love that scene so much. One of my fears is realizing that there is somebody else in the room with you.
Yes. Especially when you're looking at a screen and the rest of the room is dark, and when your eyes finally adjust to the darkness behind the screen. Crazy. Wow.
So, little side story, like where this fear comes from. When I was I just graduated high school and I was still living with my parents, and we had like our front door had like frosted glass on it. And I always had this habit of like at night, my mom would yell out from bed. She's like, Nicholas, before you go to bed, make sure the front door is locked. And I remember going to the front door. It was like 2:00 in the morning and I go to make sure that the door was locked. It was not locked. And I always had this habit of looking out the little like piece of non-frosted glass.
Ooh.
And I would just see the street light at the end of my driveway.
Okay.
This particular
I'm nervous.
night, I didn't see I couldn't see the light. And I was like, what the hell? And that's because somebody was standing on the other side of the glass and they moved to the side. And that's why it scared the shit out of me. And like they had like broken into the garage and all this other stuff. But like that was like the moment where that just like put that in my head. I was like, never again.
Oh, so legit danger then. Damn.
Jeez.
But that's what this scene reminds me of. Just realizing that somebody's there and you just didn't even realize it the entire time.
So scary.
That is scary. What's funny is I had a reoccurring nightmare about that as a kid. And I can still vividly remember that, like, I was looking out the like little window of my parents, like when I was a kid, it was like very of the time, like wooden door with like a little window with like little curtains on it. And I had a dream that I was going to get a drink of water and I looked out the door and Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees were standing on the porch and Freddy waved at me. And so like, I always think of that at my parents' house at the front door, even though it's not even the same front door, but that was a dream and you were actually in danger, Nick. So Jesus. God. So Angelus, she's basically Jenny's there, right? Like if Jenny had like an hour longer, she probably would have ensouled him, right?
Yeah.
Like she like makes it. She gets it all together. And then like I feel so like not even just because she's murdered, but it's like, man, she did all this and now it's just getting like literally lit on fire. She put that text through
Google Translate. She got it printed out, put on a floppy disk. Like she was prepared. She had a backup. That's how prepared she was. That she had a backup.
Yes. And like when she's like, no, that's and then he just like rips it and throws it in the fire, and it's like, oh God.
And that's just her trying to appeal to whatever humanity may be in there, right? Just like, don't you want to just not be able to have sex anymore?
Because she like knows, right? It's like she knows he's gonna kill her. Like you can see it in her face. She's fucking terrified, and like. I do think she does a really good job when she's like backing against the wall and like clearly fucking panicking. And I love, I mean, not like love, but like he does, such like good demon, like he's calm and he's just like throwing things in the fire and like.
Oh, it's wild when he like crouches down and like warms his hands on the fire. I'm like, oh shit, shit. And I thought, I guess I like misremembered this because I thought that he gave her like a 10-second head start or something instead of just like throwing her against the
door. So yeah, he throws her into the door and we get a very good chase scene. Summer, what do you think of this chase scene?
I mean, it's so fucking crazy. It's like just the predator after the prey. Like,
yeah,
you just see his true nature.
Yeah. And like the thing I do like, and I mean, Zach, we talk about this, we like this too, is like she's not being stupid, right? She's making smart decisions. She's fucking, she's not like just being like, oh, blah, the door's locked. Well, now I'm eating it.
Feels very Scream / I know what you did last summer.
Yeah.
Like it's not as good as Helen Shivers, but like she's making the decisions that she can, right? I mean, up until right. But she's making the decisions she can, and you know, she doesn't have time to sit at those doors and like push those doors for more than a second. She's got to move on. Like something else has got to be open, right?
Right.
And it really is, and she's fucking bolting. You know, she's not like looking back. She's straight ahead, and there's just even the moment where she like tips over the janitor's cart, it felt very like Ghostface, right?
Yes, that did.
It just there was no way he had locked the school up.
Yeah,
he had taken his time doing it. He knew probably different routes that she might be able to take, and had different plans set up. And she was never going to get out of that school.
Yeah, no.
The janitor's cart really, truly terrifies me because it becomes very obvious that he's just playing with her. Because, I mean, I don't know if it's just the way that, like, they shot the scene, but, like, there's no way that he would not have seen the janitor cart being pushed in front of him. He runs right into it, and I'm like, he's just playing. He's just playing with her.
He's like a puppy dog. Like, he is excited. Like, this is fun for him. And it is just I don't even know if I would say animalistic, because animalistic, like there's a goal there. It is very human in the pleasure that he's getting out of this.
Yeah. You're right. There is like a humanity to the cruelness, because like you're right. An animal doesn't give a shit enough to be cruel, right? Like
And Ian, I don't know how you don't like this dress during this scene. I'm telling you, like fits it perfectly. There was an event not too long ago. You know what I'm talking about. But there was a bunch of people at Sunnydale High School, and the only thing I saw people posting about it was that fucking window.
Yeah, because this is like the part of like, and you can tell it actually is the school, because it does look like slightly less TV setty. But I do like that they used, like, he's really chasing her through the school, which I feel like I can't remember other times when we've like gotten that. Like, I feel like they're just always usually in the like set that's the one hallway.
I think when Willow and Faith are chasing Oz when he's a werewolf,
maybe,
and then obviously when like Buffy's running through the school from the mayor, but no,
even that is just that one set. She runs the same exact path that she does in Becoming in Graduation Day, which is weird because then like. Right, Summer, that means that they like filmed on the set and then like drove to the school to like finish the set, that scene.
Yeah.
But I guess that happens often, right? Even if it's like one.
It does. It really does. Sometimes one scene will just take days.
Oh, God. You know, I think it was Scream, actually. I was just like doing something for work for Scream, and I knew that final act had taken a long time, but it took something like 20 days to film the house party scene, I think. Like, just to like film it.
I think it might have even been longer than that. Yeah, I've seen 117.
I think it was like almost a month. And I remember they said that they all had like t-shirts made saying like, I survived whatever that scene was.
Oh, God. That's like Groundhog Day.
Yeah, and like I just think shit like that's cool because it like doesn't feel, and like a show like this, especially back then that didn't have a budget, could have easily felt like choppy, but it doesn't. Like, I feel like they did a good job editing it. And I think this is such a good chase scene. In my head, it's always longer because it's so good, but it's only like 2 minutes, I think, 3 minutes.
It felt decently long though. We got her running through a good few hallways.
Yeah, and Zach, I was thinking of you because they play with the space and they do a good job playing with space.
I wish she would have climbed on the roof, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah, and I do think that shot is like so good, and it's it adds to the cruelty that he snaps her neck. He's not even like
quick.
Right? Yes.
Quick.
Yeah.
There's not even a line or anything, is there? Like,
No.
Like she just looks at him and then he snaps her neck, and like it shows you that like, you know, he's a vampire, but he's not even biting her. He's doing this for fun. Like he doesn't even care about like drinking her blood, which for all intents and purposes, that should be the thing he's doing, right? When he's killing someone.
Well, his cruelty is compounding on itself, right? Because that's cruel to her, but also he wants her in like the most gorgeous condition that he can leave her in, right? So when he places her in Giles's bed, that she looks like that shot will forever haunt me. Mm-hmm. It's like burned into my memory.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I do like the backlighting of the window and how they're like silhouettes. Yeah, and you just like you feel bad for Jenny. Like it's like it really does remind me of Helen Shivers, because it's like, man, she didn't do anything wrong. She wasn't being stupid. She almost got away, but didn't.
Hey, she's about to end that season in half the time, and they could not have that. The WB said, take her out.
Yeah.
There's so many things about her chasing that remind me of Helen's. Like, specifically, well, two parts. Like, when he's chasing her, when they're outside and they're, like, running through the walkway, and how she's, like, running the same speed, and then you see him start to pick up pace a little bit, and as he's getting closer and closer to her. I love the way that they shoot that. But specifically the end in front of the window, I think it's like, other than during the daylight, you know, when during the school day, it's very rare that they show actual cars on the street outside of the school. So it was very like Helen right at the end of the alley. Like there are people outside who can probably help her.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever go into your high schools at night? I had to do that a couple of times for some classes that I was in. One time we did, we were setting up a haunted house, and it was just like me and a couple other people in there at night. It was so creepy too. And so just like seeing her running through an empty high school at night is wild.
Yeah.
I mean, I went into Sunnydale High School at night.
Wait, you did at night?
I did. So this is probably bad, but this was years ago. I went to visit the high school, and it was at night. And I climbed the fence, and I was like, I'm doing this. So I got to like walk around all the areas that were obviously not locked off. But it was very that.
Summer, have you ever been there?
No. Where is it?
It's in Torrance,
California. Yeah.
Oh,
I don't really know.
Is it like an active school?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Because the first time I went there, it was in like July, so it was fine. There were like kids skateboarding, so it was like fine. We just walked around, and the kids skateboarding had opened up that fence you climbed, Nick. So it was just open. So we were like, all right, let's go in. And there was like, you know, the kids are skateboarding. We can go in. They're there. So we like walked around the like campus area where graduation day takes place. And then the second time I went there, I brought a friend, and it was June, but school was still in session, and I was so embarrassed. I was like, oh my God, this is embarrassing. So I'm sure they're
probably so used to it though.
Right?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, another gay guy standing outside the school taking a photo.
They probably love it. Like it would be so cool to go to an historic school like that.
That is true. And it was used in, I know at least 90210, if not more shows.
Yeah.
I believe it's also used in Cursed.
Oh shit, really?
Oh.
Yeah, I think that's the same high school.
I love that.
Does it look the same?
I mean, when I was there, it looked like straight out of the TV show.
Oh my God.
And I definitely had the moment where I was where graduation day took place. And I'm like standing there by myself, and I'm like looking up into the sky, and I'm like, you want to get it back from me, dick?
That's so cool.
I for sure took a picture on right where graduation day takes place and was like, I'm running for Sunnydale prom queen.
That's
awesome. I mean, I was going to say, Summer, you're with a bunch of fucking nerds, but I feel like you know that every time you're recording with this podcast.
No, I love it too. Like, I'm all about it.
Next time I'm in LA, Summer, we'll go to the high school.
I know. I want to go to this high school. I'm like Googling pictures of it right now.
So
I'm like nervous to talk about this next part too.
I know.
I just hate it.
So we then cut to Giles coming back to his apartment. Well, wait, no. First, I didn't talk about it. We get the scene of him at Buffy's house, which I do love. Because I just love the beat of him. He does want to help, right? Because he knows Joyce doesn't know the full story. But Willow just being like, right, and what would you say? And he's like, ugh. And then he even has a little line of, oh, I'm going to use this at my apartment to uninvite Angel. And it's like, shit, right? And then he goes. Summer, what do you think? Give me your rundown on his acting. What do you think about because he's doing a lot of conveying a lot of emotions with no lines.
That's so hard to do.
Yeah.
That's the hardest. I think they're such talented actors. This show would never have worked if one of them had been different. It's just, right. They're all so good.
I know, because every time someone's even before we knew he was a piece of shit, when everyone would say, oh, Joss, whatever, I'd be like, well, no, it is everyone else, because bad actors, that writing would not land with any bad actor, right?
No, those actors killed it.
Yeah. And you have to be I feel like you do have to be a specific type of actor to be able to sell the lines they read, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're freaking talented.
Yeah.
It seems like they worked under really difficult conditions in those days. Yeah. Long hours, really tired. And their performances, you never see it on anyone. They all are on the ball all the time.
Yes. That's the thing. I actually do think, even before everything came out, every actor that has come on this podcast from Buffy has said that they would always go over and they'd be shooting for 15 hours or 16 hours, and it would all be overnight into the morning, and
exhausting.
I mean, right? That shit's got to be and you have to be on the whole time, right?
Oh my God, it's crazy.
Have you seen the interview with Sarah? It's an hour and a half long interview, and it's just a day on the set with her. And
yes,
it was when
with who is that? Richard Blackwell, or what was his name?
Oh gosh.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about, and it is one of my favorite things.
Yeah, they're in the cars. They're transporting Sarah to set, and she's just talking about the schedule and how often she has to film. And the interviewer is like, "What the hell are you talking? Seriously?" And she's like, "Oh yeah." She's like, "I see friends and family maybe a week or two a year."
God,
that's nuts.
Ugh. Yeah. Oh, she probably had no life outside of that.
Yeah, and right, looking back, it's oh, that's probably why she didn't want to talk about Buffy that much after it ended, because she was probably kind of relieved, right?
Probably. I mean, it's also just too much to ask of an actor. I feel nowadays there's boundaries around that. It's kind of it sounds abusive.
Yeah. Yeah, even aside from what they said about Joss, just that itself, right?
Yeah, but productions used to get away with that.
Yeah, it really does feel and that wasn't even that long ago, I thought it was the fucking wild, wild west. Just anything goes, and whatever they say, okay.
I think there's still some sets like that.
I was going to say, because my best friend does work on he does lighting for sets, and some of the sets he's been on, it's what the fuck?
Oh yeah, you have to protect yourself.
Yeah, there's a few music videos. There was a music video that they shot for, I think it was 17 hours. They shot a music video, and the crew, I won't say who it was, but they offered them cash money and weed as their payment for the last 4 hours, because they legally could not keep them. So they just offered everyone literally cash and weed. And so the crew was all right, sure, we'll stay. Which is insane.
There's also pressure from productions to constantly take a forced call. And some actors love that because you get a little extra money. I've never liked that, but it's this unspoken pressure of you take the forced call. You don't not take the forced call.
What's a forced call?
You don't get your turnaround.
Oh, there's no space between it?
Well, you don't get what the union allots for a full turnaround. So you work, 16, 17 hours, and they want you back before your full turnaround. And so they'll pay you extra, and it's considered you kind of, it was an unspoken rule of well, you take it on the chin, because we got to get it done. You got to shoot it, It's you didn't used to say no to those. I say no to that shit. I'm no.
Summer, I love that. The thing I like about that is because I know you're so easygoing. I love that you are nope, no thank you.
But you know what? I was too easygoing for a lot of my career.
That's fair.
I because you think you have to be.
Yeah, that's. I mean, there was a media company that one of my friends worked for that they were oh, we don't take a break during the day. That's frowned upon. Mm-hmm. And he was saying the same thing, that it's an unwritten rule. No one says you're not supposed to get lunch, but if you did, the bosses would be oh, they left to get lunch.
Yeah,
as if what a crazy thing.
God forbid they eat.
Yeah. But yeah, I think Anthony Stewart Head is great in this scene.
Yeah.
Nick, what do you think?
This scene, okay, so like I recently watched the Hannibal TV series for the first time, and this scene is very Hannibal to me, with like the opera music in the background, and it's just it's beautiful, but it's so tragic, and he plays it so well, just like with. Because obviously, you know, the end of the episode when he starts crying, I think that's the first time we ever see him cry.
Yeah.
And maybe even the only time. I think you see him weeping after Buffy dies, but it's, I don't know, it just breaks my heart every single time. And but it's such a beautiful scene too. There's such a poetry to it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, Zach, what do you think?
I mean, I completely agree with that. I did a little research on the opera, because I wanted to see if that played into the episode at all, or if it was just here in this song. It's from an opera called. If any of your fucking listeners give me a hard time about my pronunciation, I'm gonna be really pissed. It's a French opera called La Bohème. The song is, I'm not going to pronounce it, but I know the translation of it. Oh, Gentle Maiden. And it is the song that's playing when the two lovers of the opera realize they've fallen for each other. Right. And so by the end of the opera, just to kind of put a nice little bow on the entire episode, at the end of the opera, the lovers are separated by death. And so that, I feel like, for the entire episode kind of reflects Buffy and her narration of realizing Angel is dead, and then Giles also losing Jenny.
Man.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Yeah, so it's real good, man.
That gave me a little bit of the chills because I feel so bad for Giles.
Yeah. I will never forget her body, like, and her like stare, right? Her stare as she's like just like kind of look, because is she looking at him or looking up? I don't.
I feel like she's looking at him.
Just looking at him. Okay.
I think she's posed to look at him. And like his face of like, it's so heartbreaking because he's like so happy and giddy. And he's like, all right, cool. Like we're like, I guess to him, it's like, we're good now. We're like making up. And then, oh, nope, she's been murdered. And of course he knows. And I actually, Zach, I was curious what you thought, because I really like the shot of like when his face drops and then we pan out and it's like the cops are already there.
Oh, it's crazy.
Like, he's against the wall. I love that shot.
The whole, like, because then from this moment, it almost feels like, and I think this show is really good at showing the kind of moments after trauma. This and how it all seems to blend in together, almost, you know, like a montage, and as Angel's narrating it. And, you know, when we go and see through the window, Willow getting the call, like Willow's reaction, like Alison Hannigan's reaction gets me every single time. I just, when she breaks, like her and Sarah Michelle Gellar have really good they act really, really well when each of them like break. And I like that Buffy's sort of reaction was a little more understated while not being any less devastated than Willow's. So it did let Willow's shine a little bit more.
And it, like, I do think that tracks for both those characters. That like Buffy would be the one that's like,
and Joyce like comforting Will. Oh my gosh.
I know.
Chills.
And like, I love that scene that was like, they had dialogue there. They like wrote that scene and then they decided to do from Angel's point of view, because I do think it works better. Like, you know that he loves this, right? This is like terrible to watch, but he is loving it because this is what he wanted. He just wanted to watch like Buffy cry.
It's very similar to Buffy telling Dawn that Joyce is dead, except we don't hear their dialogue at all. But we can hear a little bit of Willow, but they do feel very similar.
Yeah. I hadn't even thought about that, but yeah, and like. I can remember being like, holy shit, like the first time I watched this, because it was like I had the VHS and like just being like, oh man, they'll kill anyone. Like, I can't believe they killed Miss Callan. Like, you know, I mean, looking back on Buffy, there's characters that were in it longer that were killed, right? But like, that's the first time it's like a character that had been around.
I would almost expect Joyce to die before Jenny, honestly.
Really?
I think so.
At that point, the way they were developing,
that's true.
Yeah.
I love that scene, and like you're right, Zach. They are both very good criers. I think. Summer, do you? Is it easy for you to cry, or is it hard for you?
It's super easy. I mean, it's like it kind of is the easiest thing.
Really?
Yeah, it's like, you know, I think we've talked about this before. I think when you're like a young actor. like especially like child actor, teen actor, you're like, look, I can cry on cue. I can cry on cue. Give me my carrot now. And it's like, I just think it's kind of the cheap shot a lot of times as I mature.
That is why Summer is the actress and we three are the talking heads on the internet.
No, but I loved it for this, and it was completely appropriate. But a lot of times it's not that appropriate. You know, you have to earn that. You want to earn that.
That's
it has
true.
to be earned. If you're always doing that, then it loses its power.
You know, Summer, that actually reminded me. So, like, I am a Marvel person. I do love Marvel, but like, you know, lately I've been a little fatigued. And like, there are a lot of younger, like 19, 20-year-olds that will be like, oh my God, they should get an Oscar nom for this crying scene. And it's like, all right, but
I still say that about any person that cries in the movie. I'm like, damn, Oscar.
Yeah. No, it's taxing and it's emotional and it's gut wrenching. But I feel like it can be overused. I've seen it be overused by actors in shows where it's like every fucking week you're telling me you can act. And they're like, we get it. You're on a show, but do something else. Oh my God.
At Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah. No, but the best directors I've ever worked with have told me, don't pull it back. Just say it. Don't do it. Don't give them the tears here. And those have been the performances that I'm most proud of, because just because you can doesn't mean it's what's going to stand the test of time as much, you know?
There was a Hollywood Reporter roundtable with Reese Witherspoon and Nicole Kidman when they were promoting Big Little Lies, and they talked about that too. How they had like built up all day getting ready for this like big emotional scene where she was going to cry. Nicole Kidman was going to cry, and the director, or maybe it was Reese Witherspoon, one of them, and the director kept telling them, "No, hold it back, hold it back, hold it back." And by the end, they said, I needed to let something out, and so I went home, or I went to my dressing room, and I couldn't even hold it in anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always really frustrating when you really do want to let it go and you want to do that. And the director's like, no, don't do it. That's what's hard.
Emotional edging.
Yeah, seriously, Jesus. Yeah.
Summer, now I'm like, all the times I saw Margot, like you did like a stoic face cry, and like that would always get me too. Like I feel like you did do like a, not like a big, it would be like, but I feel like Margot would have the same thing as Buffy, where it's like she wants to keep it together and doesn't actually want to like bawl.
Yeah,
right?
I appreciate that, because when she does, when there are those moments, like when Joyce dies and we really see her despondent, it does matter more. I remember being frustrated as Margot and being like, I want to show vulnerability more. I want to cry more. I want to cry here. My fucking eye's been taken, all this stuff. But then once I got to an episode where I was in the desert, all of that had been earned. And so it meant so much more. And like, it was hard, but I had learned that lesson really early on in my career on my first film. And there was this big scene where the character's been raped and it's out and everybody's talking. And she's like, no, like it was this person. And I had envisioned it in my head that I was going to have a full out breakdown because she had been abused and treated so badly for so long. And I wanted to like prove to everybody I could do it because it was my first film, and like have this whole big emotional moment. And I was crying all day on set trying to get there. And the director was like, literally, just say no. Just say the word no. Just say no. And that was it. That was the whole performance. And it was, in my head, it was like this huge moment for this character. And it still was, but it didn't have to be drowned in like heavy emotion.
That makes so much sense too. And now that you're like talking about it, it makes so much sense when we watch Sarah as Buffy all the time. She gets really wide eyed and you see her eyes welling up, but she doesn't break down. And she does that a lot in this show. And she'll like almost do that stare into nothing. Like I think of her on the back porch when Spike shows up in season 5 and she's just like staring into nothing.
Yeah. She's probably thinking about her call time the next day. You know,
she's like, I don't get to. I get 2 hours of sleep when I go home in the morning.
Summer. So, Zach, where are we in the episode now? I forget.
Everybody's dead. Giles is like, I'm gonna go kill Angel, and Buffy's like, no, we can't let him kill Angel, and so Giles goes to kill Angel, and we're at the factory.
Wait, but I want to talk. Wait, there is a beat before that at Giles.
Is there? Okay.
I fucking hate Xander's I told you so moment.
Thank you.
Like, I'm like, dude, this is not the time to be doing this. and like Cordelia and Willow both try to stop him. Like even Cordelia, who like, you know, is supposed to be like they, you know, underplay her, whatever. She's like, they both yell at him. And then Buffy's like, he's right. But, you know, Giles would get killed if he's going to get revenge. And like, shit like that. I'm like, is that what you say to your friend? Is that what you say to your best friend when like her father figure's girlfriend is murdered?
He truly did not matter to this episode.
Yeah, like, that makes me so mad.
It's literally just, it's Xander exemplifying Xander moments. Because, like, even in the way, like, when she says, you know, there's just one thing, you know, flaw with this plan, the way that he responds to her, and he's like, oh, yeah, and what's that? Like, he's just taking this moment to just dig into Angel, per usual, even though he's right. He is right.
But it's not the moment, like, and everybody else can read the room, you know? Like, even Cordelia getting out of the car doesn't have a quip. She just, you know, Buffy asks if she can get driven, and Cordelia's like, yeah, sure. Like, everybody else can read the room. Why can't you?
And yeah, exactly. Like, if Cordelia's not quipping, you know that she knows it's like, okay, this is serious. Like, I'm here to help. And then, but Xander wants to give in a fucking I told you so moment. And like, if like, save that for when you're in the car with just your girlfriend by yourself, right? Like maybe if that, like you need to get that out, wait till Buffy's not there because she's not the person to be doing that. I don't know. It just,
or why don't you go try to kill Angel?
Right.
Let's look at you go. You go do something. Get your yellow crayon and go out to the factory.
Seriously. But yeah, so Spike is mad that Angelus hasn't killed Buffy yet, and he's like, "Don't leave presents in her friend's bed." And Spike also has a weird line when he's like, "You're not working with a full sack," is what he says to Angel, to mean like his balls aren't there.
Well, there's a little, well, more than a little, there's a little homoeroticism between them in this episode, especially like earlier when he like leans down and he gets really, really close to Spike's face. And he's like, anything that I'm not already doing. Like, I know that he looks at Drusilla, but I'm like, this entire interaction right here is gay.
Yes.
Yeah.
They like absolutely fucked. So then as they're having their argument, Giles arrives with the fire. And I'm glad that Giles got some good hits in. Like, I feel like he deserved to be able to get some in before he got like knocked out. So I was glad, you know, and he has that flaming, whatever the fuck it is. With them.
2x4.
I always think of, so when I was like in middle school, in early high school, I used to find Buffy Angel like fan made videos, and one of them was to Taylor Swift's Love Story. And whenever they get to the point of my daddy said stay away from Juliet, it's this shot of Angel or of Giles hitting Angel with the fire, and so I always think I like hear it in my head when I see that.
I love that. That's so ridiculous.
It is. I think I sent it to you one time, and it's a really good one. I saved it so that I can remember it always.
So, and then Giles does get knocked out. I do like that Spike stops Drusilla from helping, and he's like, no, don't help unless he tags you in, because that's how much he fucking hates Angelus. Then Buffy comes in, and there's some fighting. Does the factory burn down? Is this the last time we see it?
I think it's just supposed to be burnt out, but you see it again, well, the basement of it, when Willow and Xander are trapped in it in season 3, when Spike traps them in there.
Oh, yeah, I meant like as their base. Like, this is the last time. Yeah,
I think they go to the mansion or whatever after this.
Right. Okay. So then Buffy pulls Giles out, and we get a really, like, I think this is such a good moment between them, because he like pushes her off. And he's like, why did you come here? And then she punches him. And she punches him and then starts crying. And like, man, the big frown on her face and her hugging him and being like, I can't do this without you. Like, so good.
It's such a human moment between them. Seeing Giles cry, I hate it. I hate it. Like, even thinking about it makes me emotional. I hate it. But it just felt like father and daughter in this moment.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly what we love about their relationship, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And like, we don't ever see Giles get that emotional about shit. So I feel like it makes it more emotional that he is emotional. Cause it's like, oh no, dad's upset. Oh, dad's even upset. What the fuck is going on? Like, it's like when you're a kid and your parents are upset about something and you're just like, yeah. And like that line and, yeah, I just love all of that. We get the next day, they're visiting Jenny's grave.
The
and again,
WB backlot.
Yeah. It does look bad in the daylight. And even like Sarah's acting here, like they're so somber, and she's like, you can tell she's beating herself up about it when she's like, I'm sorry for you and for her. I wasn't ready to kill him, but now I am. And like, yeah, it's like it's really sad. And like we see Willow going in the class to take over for Jenny, which does make no sense.
There is no way in hell that she would have been allowed to do that.
They could. We'll move along.
And then as Willow's setting up the desk, the file that Jenny put the spell on falls right between the desk.
That shot was so sad too.
Yes. Because like it feels like it's like hopeless, right? It's like, fuck. The thing that they could do is like right there, but they're not going to see it. I mean, granted, they do eventually, but I love that. I love the like that we can get to that hopeless moment, but they do bring it back, and it does make sense the way they like get back to there. Summer, what do you think about that ending with the disc falling?
It's one of those like, oh my God moments. Like, oh my God. It's so frustrating. Right? Mm-hmm.
Like right there. Fuck.
It's right there.
And like, yeah, I just love that.
This is why we have the cloud.
Right, exactly.
Oh my God.
It's always in my Google Docs.
That's Zach. That's why you and I every month are upping our Google memory.
Exactly,
drive.
It's my notes app.
And when Zach and I first started doing podcasts together, he was like, "Oh, I just pay for the like more storage every month," and I was like, "Oh, well, if Zach does it, I can do that." Because I was like, I shouldn't be paying for this every month. Now I'm always like, great, I need more. I'll pay for it because I can't possibly delete anything off of my phone. I have a folder because I do those like promos of recording. I have a folder of pictures of all of you on my phone just because like I do it on my phone. So it's like I literally have a folder that's Slayerfest 98 guests and co-hosts.
He's putting it through like a drawing simulator and leaving it on our pillows.
But okay, we are at the end. First, I'm going to ask the question that I have not asked in a while, and I'm going to ask it to you first, Nick. What do we think Dawn would have been doing in this episode?
That's a good question. I mean, I definitely think that if she was in the episode, she would have got a drawing of herself for sure.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Oh, but I don't know. Because I mean, Buffy, like, I think of how, you know, Buffy would protect her in later seasons, you know, and she would drop her off at Spike's or something like that. But I'm like, clearly Angelus was running around and she wasn't overly concerned that Joyce was out at night. So, I mean, she was probably just, you know, in the car grocery shopping. She'd be getting the bags while Joyce is getting harassed on the front lawn.
Fair. Zach, what do you think?
Well, our favorite little pyromaniac would have set Angel on fire, killed him, and ended the season. That's what would have
happened. Summer, what do you think Dawn would have been doing?
Oh my God. I mean, she definitely would have gotten a photo of herself. Like, I'd like to think she would have like called the cops or done something, but she probably would have just freaked the fuck out and been like, Bobby,
get out, get out, get out.
I was just about to say, when Buffy slams the door, you hear her screaming, get out of the back.
But I could see, like, I really could see her in the car with Joyce as Joyce is getting out. Yeah. And, like, when Angel says the thing about making love, Dawn looking up at Joyce and being like, what does he mean, Mom? Or something like, I don't know, something like that. Like, I can see her fitting in that scene very well.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and, like, it would kind of add to the panic because she's, like, actually is a kid. Mm-hmm. Or would be in that scene. I had Dawn would have been with Joyce when Angelus said they had sex, and she would have been very annoying about it. All right, favorite outfit. Summer, what was your favorite outfit?
Oh God, favorite outfit. You know what? Those silk pajamas and that pearl cross are pretty cute. Like the pearl cross was cute. That stuck out to me.
I don't even think I realized the pearl cross.
Yeah, I was like, I like this cross. It's cute.
Ooh. Nick, what was your favorite outfit?
I think it's the outfit that Cordelia is wearing when she asks Willow about the fish. And it's like a burgundy outfit. And it's like paired with the red lip. It looks so stunning. I love it.
I mean, she always looks good.
Always.
Zach?
Well, I'm disappointed nobody said Miss Calendar's dress that she dies in, and I need to know that all of your listeners are going to be on the same page with me. And that
one. I mean, mine is. I like Buffy, the like zebra cheetah print tank she's wearing.
What print was that? Was that zebra? I couldn't figure
Summer,
it out.
do you know what you would call that? Because it's like cheetah print colored, but it's zebra.
Oh my God. That was like, I don't know if I love this or I think I love it. What is it?
Right?
You know, it's like you can't stop looking at it, but you're like, should I? I don't know. I think it was like zebra with like cheetah color.
Right? Yeah.
And it was like velvet or something. It was like velour.
Yes.
It's just funky.
That was my favorite outfit because I think Buffy looks good in like a cheetah print color.
She does.
What was your favorite scene, Zachary?
Okay, I want to rank them because I got 3. So Jenny Calendar's chase scene, followed by them getting the call that Jenny Calendar's dead, followed by the what did I say earlier was the third favorite? When he finds her, maybe. Whatever I said earlier.
You did say it. You did say it. You explicitly said it earlier, but I fucking remember.
Well, it's a Jenny Calendar's chase scene. Right.
Yeah. Summer?
God, it's hard to choose like a favorite when it's so sad.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, you know what? Willow like having to spend the night. That's cute.
Nick, what's your favorite scene?
So it's a tie. I mean, I would say my number 1 is probably Angel watching them receive the news from outside of the window. Because I just love in like supernatural or horror shows when they actually show the characters responding with to the trauma that's going on around them. I love that. And I love that the way that they did it was very, very unique in the sense that like you weren't in the room with them.
Yeah.
So I like how they flip that on the head. But the horror part of me is specifically the way that they frame the scene with the fish, because you see Willow feeding the fish, but you don't see any fish in the tank. And I like how there's just like, like 30 seconds where you're like, if you caught it, you're like, wait a minute, there's no fish in the tank. What's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like they also probably did that. So like it helped them both. Like I feel like the angle worked, but also maybe those fish didn't look as fake. Shot through the tank. My favorite scene is the Jenny chase scene, but like Zach, I also have 3. It's Jenny's chase scene, Buffy telling Angelus she changed the locks, and then Buffy and Giles crying in the alley together. They all get me. I think we're probably gonna all be around the same. What grade do we give this episode, Nick?
I'm gonna give this an A.
Summer?
I would say a B.
Okay. Zachary?
A+.
Yeah, I'm an A+ as well. Thank you all for joining me. Nick, thank you for coming on for the first time to talk about this iconic episode.
Anytime. Buffy, anytime. I will answer the call. Thank you for having me.
And if you all like Slayerfest 98, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and anywhere else you get your podcasts. You can support us on Patreon, where we are covering Harley Quinn Season 3, and then we're going to go on to Batman the Animated Series and X-Men the Animated Series. And you want to follow us on social, we are at SlayerFestX98. If you want to follow me, I am at ENXCarlos. Summer, where can everyone find you?
At Summary Bishil on Instagram and at SummerBishil1 on Twitter.
And Nick, where can everyone find you?
Nick Says Boo on YouTube, Nick Says Boo on Instagram, and Nick Says Boo on Twitter.
And Zach, where can everyone find you and the other 2 podcasts you do?
I do a podcast with my husband called Coffee and Tequila. If you search Coffee and Tequila, it'll come up. If you search My Bloody Judy, we will also come up. It is the horror podcast I co-host with Carlos Crawford here. Yeah, I mean, if you just search Adventures of Zach and B, I pop up.
All right, everyone. Well, we will see you next time. Bye.